I'm Scott Hubbard from Sparx Systems, and it's a pleasure to join you today for our webinar entitled Unlocking AI-Powered Modeling. And we're going to be looking at integrating ChatGPT and Gemini with Enterprise Architect. Now, Enterprise Architect has had the ability to use ChatGPT for a little while, but we've recently made some changes and some enhancements to also include Google Gemini. So we're going to go through that now. And having spoken to a few customers, not everyone's aware of this integration, so today is a great opportunity to showcase it for you. So our overview of the webinar, I'm going to show you how to configure ChatGPT and Google Gemini within Enterprise Architect. So we're going to do a demonstration to show how chat works, how discussion works. I'm going to show you how to use terms such as hashtag, diagram, hashtag, in order to interrogate a diagram and get information about a diagram from our large language models. Going to talk about the difference between using chat and discussion in Enterprise Architect. We're also going to demonstrate a few different features of where it can be used, where AI can be used within Enterprise Architect. I'm going to give the usual warnings about does AI always tell the truth, and to just jump ahead a little bit, the answers are no, it doesn't, which means there is a role for a modeler and the Workbench in AI to moderate and go through information before it's inputted and modeled within your commercial products. I'm going to talk about experimenting with some ideas and do a demonstration of the model assistant and how it can be used. Now, I talked about it before, but hallucination in reference to AI and large language models generates information that's plausible sounding but is factually incorrect, nonsensical, or unfaithful to the provided source or prompt. And one of the challenges with AI is it is basically a predictive tool, and it makes predictions about what the next word, pixel, character, or sound will be. And so when it generates things, it's not necessarily understanding those concepts, and there's no guarantee there is truth. So while it is fantastic to use AI for writing notes, for improving documentation, and for making your models much better and easier to read, much more professional, and for coming up with ideas, especially when you're developing requirements or use cases or test cases. One of the challenges is that you need to be aware that AI does hallucinate, and you need to be able to manage that process, so you can't always rely on AI information. And that has guided some of the design choices we've made at Sparx Systems. So AI can lie and make stuff up. It's better to have a human involved in the process to curate content. Within Enterprise Architect, we use the Workbench to curate items, and ChatGPT predicts information without necessarily understanding what it's saying. So you need to be careful on production systems. Some of the things that we're going to look at is things like use hashtag, diagram, hashtag to refer to a diagram. And there's support for using hashtag elements and diagrams to reference elements in the model directly and pass that information to the large language model. There is also support for element hyperlinks, so you can simply copy any element on a diagram and paste it in as a hyperlink, and that allows you to refer to multiple elements. So you could say compare this element and that element and describe the connections between them and get some feedback. So an example is describe the role that these elements play in the following diagram. So what are some of the benefits of AI for Enterprise Architect users? Well, it's great for experimentation. It allows you to write better notes to improve your documentation. You can set the tone and style of your documentation, so you can write your notes and say, please rewrite these notes so that they're more professional and adhere to a particular style guide. You can create a persona and ask questions to assist in modeling. So you can say, imagine that you are a business analyst that is reviewing this document. What are 10 of the topmost important rules that need to be taken into account when modeling requirements for a online banking system? And it can give you information and give you guidance and assistance. It's great for automatically creating notes and elements, and just with the proviso that you need to be careful before you put it into a production system. And it's really great to help explain legacy models and onboarding new staff, because you can ask new staff to use the AI to explain what's happening on each diagram in the model and to get them up to speed. The next thing I would like to do is I would like to go through and look at our demonstrations. So once again today we're going to be demonstrating how we can unlock some of our AI-powered modeling. Now, the first thing I want to point out is that most of these features were released in 17.14. So if we have a look at the release notes for build 17.14, you can see that there's added support for Gemini from the chat or discussions window. The chat group that was previously named ChatGPT has been renamed to Model Assistant, which reflects the increased support for different large language models. It's very, very easy to set up ChatGPT, so I'll show you how to do that now. So within Enterprise Architect, under the Settings tab, you'll see we can very easily access our options. You can see here that we've just got our build number that we are using Enterprise Architect 17.14 and that build. In order to configure, we go to the Settings tab, we go to Options, and from the Options window, we have an option there called Collaboration. And you can see you have AI configuration listed on this page. So you can disable AI and you can select from ChatGPT or OpenAI. First thing you need to do is use the default service address, which in this case is api.openapi.com, and you can always get that default address if you forget what it is, and you can set and remove the API key. Now this API key is provided when you pay for access to ChatGPT or OpenAI, and you can see our model number is listed there. So at the moment we're using model 40. Once you've done this and you've configured, you can ask the model assistant within chat a question. So here we say, can you please explain this diagram with respect to strategy to a large commercial airport? And it goes ahead and then provides a whole lot of information to actually explain what the strategy map is. So it tells you what each element is, what those elements are hoping to achieve, some of the connections, what some of the strategies and stakeholders are, and talks about this. So this is really, really powerful if you have new staff that have never seen your model before and they want to learn a little bit more. You can just give them access to the model assistant. So we can say, based on this diagram, can you please describe another option that might be able to improve passenger experience? And then it gives you a suggestion that you might be able to leverage digital technologies to streamline the travel process. So what's really good is then based on this feedback, we can go in and we can add a new strategy item, and we can give that an appropriate name that's looking at being able to leverage some of these digital technologies. So not only does it allow new staff to understand what's happening on a particular model, but it allows you to make improvements. It allows you to identify gaps that you might not have thought of. It allows you to create a really robust documentation, allows you to have like an expert sitting on your shoulder that can analyze, review your models, identify any problems, help improve the tone and language and how you structure your models. And because large language models such as ChatGPT and Google Gemini have access to such a vast amount of information, it really does allow you the ability to ask questions about standards like UML or TOGAF or Archimate and find out how to make sure things are compliant. It has a lot of domain information, so it really does help unlock a great amount of expertise and potential. And sometimes I find it's useful even just to have a reminder. You might even want to ask the model assistant about how to do something in Enterprise Architect that you might have forgotten. You can use it to help describe what's happening in some of the menus, or how to achieve something, or how to create a particular diagram. Not only can you get it to review a diagram, but as you can see, we can say, please review this element and determine what is meant by the term RF. So in this particular instance, it was talking about remote frequency, and it can help define ideas. The next thing we're going to look at is ideation. So how you can use Enterprise Architect's model assistant to come up with ideas to help you in your modeling process. So here we've got a SWOT analysis, and perhaps I've just started at the company and say, what is a SWOT analysis? I don't know what a SWOT analysis is. How do you create it? So you can actually take you through the entire process from scratch, telling you what a SWOT analysis is, what a particular diagram type is, what are some examples of how they're used, and it can help you identify some of the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats for a particular model, and can help get you started. So it's a really powerful tool for coming up with ideas and for describing diagrams, for allowing you to look at things from a different perspective, a different angle. On the screen, we have a diagram called a strategy assessment, and someone might not necessarily know what's the purpose of that diagram and where it might be used. So you can see in this particular project, we're looking at airport digital transformation, and there's lots of different models. And for someone new to the team, it might be challenging to get your head around, a few hundred different diagrams and how they interact. I mentioned before that you can also use it to get help with Enterprise Architect. So I just asked a question in Enterprise Architect, what's a browser and how's it used? And so you can ask the model assistant, what's the difference between a diagramming tool and a modeling tool like Enterprise Architect? And I have a question here, why is modeling sometimes spelled with one and two letters? And it comes back and says American English uses the convention of one L, and there's two L's in British English. Obviously, I'm Australian, and we often use a combination of American and Australian English, and Australian English is influenced by both. So sometimes words like modeling and specialize and color will require different spellings. So that's great contextual information which might explain cultural differences. So you can use a model assistant to try and identify some of those cultural differences and be able to reflect and model those. For example, the way that dates are represented in different parts of the world. Sometimes the date's first, the day. In others, it's the month first. And so it's really good for providing some of that background information, some of that contextual information. And in addition, you can find out what are some of the limitations. And you can see here, as I mentioned in our original notes, I say, what does the term hallucination mean with respect to large language models? And it gives us a nice little definition. So it's really, really powerful for telling a story. And often when you are modeling in Enterprise Architect, you are trying to tell a meaningful story. The next thing we're going to have a look at is the Workbench in Enterprise Architect. So I've said, imagine you're a business analyst and you're developing requirements for an online check-in system for a large commercial airport. I've said list 7 requirements that could be used for this process. And ChatGPT instantly goes ahead and produces those 7 different requirements. Now, what's really great is that I can move all of these elements and I can just push them to the Workbench. Now this allows me to take every single one of those elements and to check them. I can edit them, I can modify them, I can take out anything that I think is factually incorrect, I can add more information, I can go back to ChatGPT and ask it to expand or modify things. And I can, of course, just pick up each of these items, drag them onto a requirements diagram, and will automatically create the requirements for me. Now, in this particular instance, I'm going to use the builder page to develop a requirements diagram for me, so I don't have to start the process from scratch. And then I'm going to simply rename some of the requirements based on the information that EA and ChatGPT has provided. So if you're new to modeling, this is really, really powerful, because what it does is that a lot of the patterns that we have within Enterprise Architect help create the diagram for us, and ChatGPT can help create the notes and the names and the titles and the relationships and some of the documentation, and it can all be brought together, and a lot of the work can be done for you. So it really allows you to get up and running quite quickly. And so if you're trying to get some feedback from some key stakeholders, you really can use Enterprise Architect to develop a quick, rapid prototype and get information back from your customers or stakeholders really, really quite quickly. And it's quite amazing how powerful it is. Now, if I use the context menu, so right-clicking, I can automatically add notes to any requirement or element in Enterprise Architect. So you can see I haven't had to retype that. I've just highlighted the text that I've wanted and I've said add to notes. So this is really powerful because you can, as I mentioned before, you can set the tone or the structure or the layout of how you want your notes to read. And in fact, you might have already typed your notes, or you might have had notes that have been developed by the BA or the developer or the systems analyst when they're first created, but you want them to sound more formal or more professional so that it enhances your documentation. And so you can go through and you can quickly add notes, you can edit them, you can get ChatGPT to write and rewrite your notes and your comments in a more structured format. So some of the things that we've looked at so far is that we've looked at how you can use the hashtag diagram hashtag element to ask questions about a diagram. We've used the hashtag element hashtag term to allow ChatGPT or Gemini to describe what an element is, and we've used ChatGPT to automatically create requirements, and then we've inserted some of those requirements onto the screen. We've used our large language model to evaluate a diagram and come up and identify some gaps on that diagram. And we've also been able to, in this particular diagram, rapidly develop, and I'm trying to show in real time, there's been a little bit of editing to help make my slow typing look a little bit better. But basically, we are developing a comprehensive set of requirements around our check-in and UI requirements for an airport check-in system, and it's all been done automatically. A lot of the structure and layout was automatically determined by the pattern, and we're using our workbench to review each requirement, make sure it's right, add a few things, remove a few things, change some of the layout. For example, with the baggage check-in and fees management, I think that particular requirement should be split in two, and so I'm going to break that up. So I don't have to always take everything that the large language model has produced as gospel. I can break it down and make changes, make edits, and do some of that curation that I was talking about earlier, where the human expert can take what has been generated from the large language model and make sure it's right. So the model assistant within Enterprise Architect does exactly that. They're like this nice little expert that sits in the system, can help advise you, can help give you some ideas, can help review your text, your language, your tone, can help improve your writing, can come up with ideas, can identify gaps, can analyze diagrams, can discuss what the relationships are. It can even give you some of that higher level information, such as, what is a requirements diagram? What is a SysML diagram? What is an Archimate diagram? In what situations might you use an Archimate diagram when modeling? So there's a great deal of expertise that you get, and it allows you to get modeling faster. You can see I'm using a dialog here to create multiple elements at the one time, and this is just to save time. But having said that, I can of course just copy everything from the workbench, drag it onto a requirements diagram, and Enterprise Architect, just like if you have the information sitting in a Word document, it will automatically create those requirements for you. But I wanted to demonstrate that it's relatively an easy process to turn information that's in the workbench into requirements. And the only reason I'm doing it in this more methodical manner, doing it one at a time, is that it then allows you to check each requirement, make sure that the content's right. And you can see that with the baggage checking and fees management, I have separated them into two separate requirements because I think that they need to be managed separately and processed separately. That's an executive decision that I've made, where I've taken information that's come from the large language model and I've adapted it and enhanced it and made a few changes. And once again, anything in the workbench, you can push that content directly to an element. So the purpose of this webinar was really to introduce you to some of the techniques. In the element on screen, if I wanted to insert a hyperlink, I simply highlight or select the element on screen, copy it, and then I can paste it into the chat, into the model assistant. So I can create a hyperlink to elements, and I can pass that information on and to the large language model. So some of the things that we've looked at today is being able to interrogate a diagram, being able to interrogate an element, being able to automatically create requirements and any elements in Enterprise Architect for that matter, using the Workbench, being able to rapidly use that information and being able to integrate it into our modeling process within Enterprise Architect itself. So I just having a look at some of the questions from our audience. People said, will this be made available? So yes, this video will be made available on our website, which is at sparxsystems.com/webinars. There are all of our webinars listed. We also make it available on the Sparx Systems YouTube channel. And there are a number of videos, so hundreds and hundreds of videos on Enterprise Architect, Collaborate, the Pro Cloud Server. There's also the series that Stephen and myself have been creating, taking you through a number of different diagrams within Enterprise Architect using a council parking model. So that's quite interesting. If you haven't seen that series, there's lots of valuable information there. You can see I've said how many elements are listed on this diagram, so you can also get the large language model to do some of the tedious counting and providing background information. There's another question here where someone's asking about getting access to the API. So that API key comes from ChatGPT or from Google Gemini. So that is not, the API key is not provided by Sparx Systems, but we simply allow you to configure Enterprise Architect to use it. Now, so far I've just been showing you how to use ChatGPT, but some people might be using the Google technology and Google Gemini. So once again, you simply select from the list. Once again, there's a service address there, which is generativelanguage.googleapis.com. You set the API key, and you once again choose the models. Now, I was having a chat to the developer yesterday, and I'm hopefully going to try and get a list of all the different models that are currently available so that I can add them to the Q&A at the end of this session. And in this particular instance, we enter the API key, and we're using Gemini Flash. Now, something that I want to point out here is that we have set group access. Now, what this means is that in order for this to work, you need to have your teams defined and to have role-based security enabled. So, for example, you might have a team set up for your administrators, your business analysts, your software engineers. So you might perhaps make ChatGPT available for your code engineers because they use it to examine code libraries and write some code templates for them. Or you might make it available to your business analysts for creating use cases and user stories, and you'd like them to use ChatGPT to improve their writing. So from that drop-down list, you select which groups that have already predefined can access this via chat, and it's also available via the discussions window. So that one came up pretty pretty quickly, so I wanted to just hold on that for a little while and allow you to see. So just like ChatGPT, you can ask questions. So examine this element and list a few paragraphs on user authentication best practices. And it goes away and it then gives us a whole lot of topics about biometrics and robust password policies. So once again, you can use it to come up with ideas that you might not have thought of, to create a more robust modeling environment. You can improve the tone, improve the text, improve the information in your notes, improve your documentation, and make your models much more professional, much more detailed. And it's always best practice that when you create an element in Enterprise Architect to create a detailed set of notes. And I sometimes hear customers say, oh, it's hard to write notes every time, but what we're seeing here is a fantastic tool that makes it very, very easy to not only create notes quickly and easily, but to take existing notes that might be a bit rough and make them far more professional and detailed. So that's it for our session today. I'm just going to go and bring up some questions. There's a question asking about, what other tools might be supported in the future. Now, the whole area of large language models is rapidly evolving and changing, so Sparx Systems will continue to review new technologies and will be able to respond to those. And we've already increased the number of large language models that we support. So I can certainly cover that. There's a couple of questions about security. So we'll add some notes to the Q&A talking about that. But essentially, the information in the chat window does not necessarily keep track of everything and does not remember a whole lot of elements. So sometimes you might like to create a discussion and develop that. Anyway, I'd like to thank everyone for their attendance. It's been great to have you here today. Look forward to seeing you at future webinars. Please visit sparxsystems.com if you want any more information about the session you've seen today. And I'd like to thank you for your attendance.